Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Sammy Ketchum, and welcome back to Sammy Ketchum TCG. Today, we are going to take a look at an updated version of Malamar with the new cards from Cosmic Eclipse. Alright, Malamar gets new cards from Cosmic Eclipse. These cards basically will make Malamar just a little bit better at what the strategy is trying to do with Malamar. The deck is basically the same. The strategy is basically the same. The deck just gets a little bit better at what it does. Alright. But yeah, Malamar is a great deck, and honestly, I like the deck. You know, I really like the deck, and it is really, really cheap to build. Well, cheaper than most, you know. I mean, all you have to do is buy one of the Battle Arena decks, you know, and then put a couple more cards in there. You know, get a couple more cards in there, like spell tags, espurrs, things like that, and you've got the deck. But other than that, let's go ahead and jump into this video. Do like that. Yeah, let's see. Alright. We have ourselves 4 copies of Malamar. Let's do this. 4 full line of Malamar. Alright, this is the main energy acceleration and engine for the deck. You know, basically what you do is, if you have him on the bench, you can basically use its ability, Psychic Recharge, to attach a psychic energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. This is very good, especially if you get out 2 or 3 Malamars. If you get out 2 or 3 Malamars, you can use 2 or 3 Psychic Recharges. This is basically the engine which powers up all of your Pokemon. Very, very good. We have ourselves 3 copies of Jirachi. Alright, Jirachi is basically in here to use its ability, Stellar Wish. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, and you can search for a trainer card there and add it to your hand. You know, this is very good for finding items, for finding supporters if you need it. This is also good for helping you get out of Reset Stamp if he's on your bench and then your Pokemon gets knocked out. This card is very, very good, and this card really helps Malamar, you know, find what it needs and help it stay consistent. We have ourselves 2 copies of Giratina. Giratina basically is in there to use its ability, Distortion Door. If it's in your discard pile, you can bring it back from your discard pile, set it on the bench, and put 2 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon. On 2 of your opponent's Pokemon in any way that you like. Also, its attack for 2 psychic and a colorless. It does 130 damage, but you put 40 damage on one of your Pokemon. Now, the stipulation really isn't a bad deal, because let's just say you do Distortion Door for 130, and where are you going to put the 40 damage? Put it on himself, because I mean he's going to get knocked out anyway. So he gets knocked out. Basically, what you do, he gets knocked out on the next turn, and then all you do is you send up a Jirachi with an escape board, you know, the next turn you basically bring them back from the discard pile with Distortion Door, and put 2 more damage counters on somebody, power them up with Malamar, and send them right back out. You can keep continuously doing this throughout the whole entire game to get knockouts. You know, I mean, it's great. It's busted. You know, that's what you do with Giratina. All right, we have ourselves 1 copy of Espeon Deoxys Tag Team. All right, Espeon Deoxys, it's really good. We basically have it in here to use its GX attack, Cross Division GX, for a Psychic and 2 colorless. You could basically put 10 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way that you like. If you have 3 extra energies attached to this Pokemon, which is basically going to be Psychic because its deck runs mostly Psychic, you could put 20 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon instead. This is very, very good. This is very good to hurt other opposing Malamar decks. This is very good to hurt decks like Pidgeotto, things like that. Decks that basically rely on little bench Pokemon to get off their strategy, things like that. Things that are under 100 HP, 90 HP. Cross Division GX really, really hurts decks like that. You know, and if you have enough, and if your opponent has enough damage counters on the board already, like if you've done enough damage with Giratina, you know, you could come in and clean up a Cross Division GX because you could just put 10 to 20 damage counters on the board and finish off Pokemon that already have damage on it, which is very, very good. We have ourselves 1 copy of Espurr in here. This originally was going to be 2 copies, but you know, we really only need maybe even 1, or maybe we might even cut this. Might even cut this for a second Mew. But Espurr is really in here for its second attack, a Psychic and 2 colorless. This attack does 20 damage times 20 damage for each damage counter that is already on your opponent's Pokemon on the bench. So let's say you have a Pokemon with 120 damage on it sitting on the bench. This attack does 20 damage for each damage counter on that Pokemon on the bench. So 20 damage, basically 20 times, is it 20 times? No, it's not 20 times. It's 20 plus 120? No, it's not 20 plus 120, but 20 damage times the amount of damage it has on it. So basically 120, yeah, 120 times 20. It's a lot of damage. It's a lot of damage. I can't explain it, but it's going to be a lot of damage if you have like 120 or more damage on a Pokemon on a bench. You know, 20 for each damage counter. You know. Alright, we have ourselves 1 copy of Blacephalon. This is one of the new cards from Cosmic Eclipse. And what it says is, if your opponent is at 3 prizes, this attack can put 12 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way that you like instead of, is it 4? Yeah, instead of 4. But originally this attack says put 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way that you like. But if they're at 3 prizes, then you put 12 damage counters any way that you like on their Pokemon, which is very good. more damage counters on their Pokemon, more spread damage. You're basically closing out the game to get more prizes. Alright, 1 copy of Mimikyu. This is also a new card from Cosmic Eclipse. It's in there for its ability. Any Pokemon with a damage counter on it cannot use their ability. Or is it GX? Yeah. Any Pokemon, any GX Pokemon that has a damage counter on it cannot use their abilities. This is very good against GX Pokemon. Pokemon like Mewtwo and Mew Tag Team. Things like that. So this is very, very good. You know. Alright, let's see. Let's put that there. We have ourselves 1 copy of Mew. Bench Barrier Mew. It's in it for its ability. You basically can't do damage to the bench when this is on the bench. So it stops things like Picarom's Tag Bolt. It stops things like the new Reshiram and Zekrom's GX attack. You know, it stops things like the Ganondorf GX's what is it? Can't believe I can't think of this. Venom Shock. Venom Shock. It stops things like Venom Shock from damaging the bench, which is very, very good. So, alright, we're going to move on to the supporters. Four copies of Cynthia. Shuffle your hand into your deck and draw 6 cards. Simple as that. Best draw supporter, you know, in this deck. Alright, let's do this. There we go. 4 copies of Lillie. Alright. Lillie is actually, this is the only deck that I think Lillie is really, really good in. You know, especially in the beginning, in the opening turns, you have so many ways to plus off a Lillie. You know, to start off to draw 8 cards. Also, Lillie in the mid to late game is actually not bad in this deck as well, because sometimes you're using up all your resources, you're using up your hand, and you're able to draw possibly 4, even 5 cards with Lillie, even in the mid game. You know, so yeah, Lillie's still really good in this deck. So it's a staple in this deck. Four copies of Mysterious Treasure. Mysterious Treasure, basically, you can legit search out almost every single Pokemon in this deck with Mysterious Treasure. Discard a card from your hand and search your deck for a Psychic or Dragon type Pokemon. All the Pokemon in this deck are Psychic except for Jirachi. So you can search out every single Pokemon in this deck except for Jirachi, which is very, very good. Very powerful card in this deck. Alright, 4 copies of Pokemon Communication. This is also a very good card in this deck. Swap one of the Pokemon in your hand for a Pokemon in your deck and add it to your hand, which is very good. You can use this to get Jirachis if you need to. Yeah. Alright, 4 copies of Spell Tag. Basically what you do with spell tag is if you attach this to a psychic Pokemon, whenever they get knocked out, you put 4 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way that you like. This is very good because they can't really block this damage. I think it's set for Pokemon attacher is knocked out. Oh, knocked out by damage. If it is knocked out by, let's say, damage counters, then this doesn't go off. Or if you knock out a Pokemon, if you knock out a Pokemon with spell tag on it and they have a Lysander Labs, then this doesn't work. But other than that, if they damage it and knock it out with damage from an attack, then this goes off, which is very, very good. More spread damage for this deck to work with. You keep notching them down until they're knocked out. That's what this deck does. Alright, 3 copies of Switch. Switch one of your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. Very self-explanatory. Three copies of Great Catcher. Also a new card from Cosmic Eclipse. You'll see this in just about every single one of my decks from now on. Discard 2 cards from your hand and bring up one of your opponent's GX or EX Pokemon from the bench to their active spot. This is very, very good. It's probably one of the most busted cards in this set. Basically, especially against GX Pokemon. You know. Two copies of a skateboard. You attach this to one of your Pokemon, mainly Jirachi, and basically its retreat cost is 1 less. Its retreat cost is 1 less, and they can also retreat while they're paralyzed or asleep, which is great for Jirachi because Jirachi's ability puts him to sleep after he uses it. So even while he's asleep, you can retreat him to the bench, which is very, very good. On to the stadiums. We have ourselves 3 copies of Shrine of Punishment. Shrine of Punishment basically says you can put 1 damage counter on each of your Pokemon. Is it Pokemon GX? Yeah, Pokemon GX and EX between turns. So yours and your opponent's. So if you have GX Pokemon on your bench, then you put 1 damage counter on each of yours and your opponent's. This is very good for spreading damage with this deck. This deck only has 1 GX Pokemon in it, which is Espeon Deoxys. And this thing isn't coming out anytime soon or in the early game, except for against certain decks. Other than that, this whole deck is non-GX. So since it's non-GX, then you know your Pokemon won't take damage. But you know, so Shrine of Punishment is very good against other decks that have GX Pokemon in it, which is basically most of the decks in this format. Right. Let's see. 2 copies of Viridian Forest. Alright. Viridian Forest says you can discard a card from your hand and search your deck for a basic energy and add it to your hand. This is very good for this deck because we run a low count of psychic energies in this deck. You know, we could discard a card. What a lot of people do with this deck is you can discard a psychic energy to get a psychic energy. You know, that's very good because you want your psychic energies in the discard pile because of Malamar. Because Malamar can power up your Pokemon through the discard pile, which is very good. You can also discard Giratina for this effect. You discard Giratina to the discard pile, and then Giratina comes back from the discard pile to damage your opponent's Pokemon when you put it on your bench, which is very, very good. This deck works really well from the discard pile. Alright, and we have the energy. Let's do this. Ah, come on. Get right. Have ourselves. Four. 8 psychic energy for your Pokemon. And then we also have 1 copy of recycle energy. Yeah, this is definitely a proxy. This is definitely a proxy. What recycle energy does is that when it is basically discarded from play, or let's say your Pokemon gets knocked out with this on it, you can take this card and add it right back to your hand. Yep, so when this is discarded from play, you can basically add this card right back to your hand. Yeah. Which is very good. So you can keep reusing it. So if you have 2 energies in your discard pile, you can go double psychic recharge, get those 2 energies back onto a Pokemon on your bench. Then you can sit there and go attach this energy for the turn, this recycle energy, and then attack with Giratina. They knock it out. Once they knock out the Giratina, this comes back to your hand. You keep rinsing and repeating, which is very good. Other than that, guys, that is the deck. I hope you like it, enjoy it, play test it as you will, make changes as you will. Like I said, this may be coming out for a second Mew, or maybe some other tech or something like that, because a lot of people may take this out because you have Great Catcher in the deck. Instead of sitting and waiting for your Pokemon, you know, to be on the bench for you to snipe with espurr, you can just discard 2 cards and bring it from the bench with Great Catcher and then knock it out. You know, so I've heard of people basically wanting to take this out for something else. But nevertheless, this card is still a great card in this deck. So that's why it's at the 1 copy. But other than that, you know, that's the deck. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, take care of yourself and each other. Thank you.